So, Sophia, your fuck-ups are the most valuable thing that you own.
Yes, they are.
Why?
Why are the fuck-ups the most valuable things you own? Because we have to keep making mistakes, don't we, Dom? I think we have to, because without the mistakes, we don't grow stronger. If you stop making mistakes, then you're probably living too far in your comfort zone, I would say. That's what we always talk about on our courses. We talk about making mistakes. I always say, who here has made loads of fuck-ups in hairdressing? And people will go, oh, me. And okay, I'll say, who doesn't really make any mistakes? And then they put their hand up. And I'll always say, oh, well, you're obviously staying in your comfort zone too much. Because we should be making mistakes, because if we're making them, we're actually stretching ourselves, aren't we?
We are.
I guess that's what I would say.
Who goes with that?
Yeah.
Everybody.
Yeah.
I think we are, but that is how we learn.
Yeah.
But look, we're going to get onto a lot. We are going to go through, as I said, where you're at now, what's going forward for the future, because that's really exciting. I think that's what a lot of people want to know. But equally, they want to know about Not Another Salon and why this has happened, what's made that decision. But I think it's important to understand yourself.
Yeah.
What was Sophia Hilton, the childhood memories, and how would you best describe yourself?
Good question. I mean, what was I like? Yeah, I was a kid that liked the limelight, I'll be honest. I did. Actually, I was just mentioning to you the other day something that you didn't know, but I really wanted to be on telly when I was younger. I really wanted to do that. And I managed to get, out of 12,000 kids, I entered like a BBC talent show with the CBBC when I was like 12 or something like that. And I ended up on a BBC TV show. And I was on primetime TV when I was 12 years old. I used to fly to London every week. I had my own apartment. We had our own office. It was absolutely mad for a 13-year-old. But the reason why I tell you this story is not for any other reason except I feel like I was like one of the world's first people to get trolled. So remember, like, social media hadn't come out then. I'm 37. It just started, like MySpace. And at 13 years old, I'd already started to fight between like wanting to be a name and people just really crushing me for it. So I would come home every day to hate mail, online forums telling me I was terrible. And this was before social media even existed. So I'm like a pioneer of getting shit on. And then you would think that would be really cool to go to high school and be the kid that was on TV. And it was like the worst thing that ever happened to me, because everyone wanted to bully me for it. So I think, who was I at that age? I was a kid that was desperate to be seen, if I'm honest. But I was a kid that was already realising I was going to have to fight for that quite a lot.
Why was fame in some ways? Because there's exposure there, isn't there? TV. Why is that important to you?
That's interesting, isn't it? In the early days, I just wanted to be on stage, like any kid wanted to like dance and sing and do drama, but I wasn't good at any of that. Why was that important to me? I don't know. I just love performing. I like feeling people's emotions and smiling in the audience. And now with what I do, which is not like that, but I really like feeling people's emotions, like seeing their eye contact. I really get like a big buzz off it. I love making people cry. It's like my favorite thing. Like if I can tell an emotional story or speak and say something that really gets to people's heart and they start to cry, I believe, like a Tony Robbins thing, that emotion causes motion, right? So if you feel it, you do something. So when I'm on stage now, seeing people's reactions and the way that they smile and the way that they look at me and stuff, I feel like it's like playing an orchestra of emotions, of happiness or sadness. And I think I love connecting to humans like that. I like that feeling of, here's me connecting with someone that I don't even know. I love that.
I want to go back. So my first podcast with Sophia was back in 2017. It was very early days, episode 6. I've got a couple of clips that we will play shortly. They're just a couple of clips just to take us back there. But no, there was something in there, and I think your mum, there was, and the relationship there with your mum, and there was where you were in a family, 9 hairdressers.
Yeah. I'm 4th generation hairdresser.
You 4th generation. Let's have it. But you didn't want to be a hairdresser.
I didn't want to be a hairdresser.
That's what you said back then.
No, I didn't want to be a hairdresser, no.
But I hear that said a lot, actually, in the industry. A lot of people say, well, I don't want to be a hairdresser. Yeah, here you are.
Yeah, because of my mum, some of you might recognise this. It's like we were in a village. My mum had very low-priced services. She was busting a ball. She didn't have lunch. She worked every hour. She had good money, though, I must say that. But she didn't we never saw any of the exciting side of the industry. I wasn't exposed to that. So it wasn't until I went to Manchester, and I don't know if someone's my age will recognise this, but I used to go past Tony and Guy, and I'd see the really cool girls with the cool haircuts in the window. They were just juniors, and they had a mullet haircut, I remember, and they had those bags that you wear on the side, what they called, the little pouches, which I'd never seen. I thought that was the coolest thing ever. And I think I just slowly started to see that there was an industry outside of smoking cigarettes and doing perms, and there's nothing wrong with that at all. I respect it, but I didn't know there was this whole side of the industry. That's why I didn't want to be a hairdresser.
She said, apparently, she was telling her client she's not going to be a hairdresser, she's going to university.
Did you interview my mum?
This is what you told me in 2007. Is that a part of our industry that maybe... Yeah, again, I almost get a little bit tired of hearing that kind of thing. You should go to university. But you decided that you weren't going to stay in Blackpool. If you were going to go out, you were going to go out.
Yeah.
Big part of the...
So I was the only one in my family that could go to uni, just academically. Even though I'm dyslexic and ADHD, I was diagnosed dyslexic then, but not... You didn't know I was ADHD at that point. And the only reason I did well, like really well academically in school, was a couple of reasons. One, when I went to school, they put me in bottom set for everything. Long story how I ended up there, but it was in a really, really rough school, and I'd just been on TV. So the kids in there were absolutely awful. And the first day at school, someone threw a chair like across the room, right? Like it was absolutely horrendous. And I knew, right, my main aim was to get away from those kids. That's all I cared about, was to be as far away from the kids as I could. The only reason I focused really highly on my academics, even though I'm not a naturally academic child, was to get away from those children. And I managed over from year 7, so first year of high school, to about, by the time I was in year 9, I was top set for everything except maths. I was just a bit behind everything. And that was the first time I ever experienced determination to get to something, even though it was something I fucking hated, but I had to get away from those children, and academia was the way. So that taught me how to work hard at something to get up. So therefore, I did do academically fairly well at school, and then I could have gone to uni, and my mum obviously wanted me to because I was the only one that could have. But it wasn't for me.
So it comes quite clear, determination, and that seems to be going throughout your career. Because I've been following Sophia's career for quite a period of time, and it's just always seemed to currently change and take a different direction. The one thing that I'm really keen to know about is you talked as well about your dad used to drive you around the competitions and the reason I say is sometimes a lot of the current generation may not know of you being the hairdresser that you actually are, because maybe you're motivational. Just share with us that passion that was there, how your dad would take you around local competitions.
So, just a little bit behind that, if that's okay. My mum moved to America when I was 12, right? And again, very, very long story, but she decided to move back to the UK when I was 17 and I was in college. I wasn't doing hairdressing. And she said, come to the salon on a Saturday and I'll give you 20 quid and we'll do hair extensions, right? So I wasn't training in hair, but every Saturday I would do hair extensions with my mum. And she realised that she was left-handed and I was right-handed, and we could put the extension box in the middle and we could do a full head together. And after a year of being in the UK, my mum was like, I can't do it, Soph, I've got to go back again, which was heartbreaking. But she said, you can have my client base. Right. Did I tell you this bit?
No.
You know this bit, right? So I said, right. So it was £150 a day. My mum used to charge people to do their hair extensions. So my mum said, if you, it said to the client, if you stay with Sophie, because that was my name back then, different story. If you stay with Sophie, then you can have it for £100 a day. So every Saturday when I was 17, I was at sixth form. I wasn't a hairdresser. I did basic training. I would be doing full sets of hair extensions and root tints and a razor cut. That's why I'm good with a razor. So I had a client base for about 6 months before I went into hairdressing. And then I was like, before I even went to college, I said, I want to do a hairdressing competition. So does anyone know the old style competitions? They still do them now, right? Flat tops, big fans, like all of that sort of stuff. And they have them at Blackpool. Has anyone been to Blackpool one? Yeah, right. It's quite famous for it, isn't it? So I went to Blackpool and I went into a competition. There were 34 or 37, something like that in the competition. And I came 17th and I hadn't started an apprenticeship yet. And that buzz was like, I did it on my stepmom. She was a mermaid. I made her a mermaid tail and I made all the outfit. It was just, if you look, I don't think we've got a picture of it, but it's awful.
There was some, yeah.
But I got this buzz and I was like, oh, I love this. If I can get 17th with no training. So yes, bless my dad. He got a van and we would get models from the local college and we'd get, we'd do the makeup ourselves and some glitter down the side of the face. And we travelled across north of England and we travelled, like I was the Lancashire bridal champion and then I was the Yorkshire something day by night, whatever. By the time I moved to London when I was 19, I'd won 19 medals, bronze to gold, just from like obsessively. I mean, I don't know if you've noticed, but I don't do things in halves. So, and it was like boom, 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 everyone. God bless my dad for that. And my nan, she was at the side of everything that I did.
I want to get to that moment, the London period. So the young you, I know you're winning these competitions. There was stuff going on, but you decided that you were going to go to London.
Yeah. Thought I was amazing.
So 2017, you were telling me this.
Mm-hmm.
And you said it was a struggle. You moved to London.
Yeah.
You couldn't find a salon. So you were working in some pretty...
Yeah. I mean, yeah. On Christmas Eve, he pulled us all into the office and said, I can't pay you at all. I wasn't finding the one, that's for sure. Okay. Yeah.
And you said you kind of thought, well, I'm pretty good. I've got 19 medals.
Oh, yeah.
But until you got to London... And Brooks and Brooks. Do we all know Brooks and Brooks? Yeah, Sally and Jamie Brooks, British Hairdresser of the Year. They have a massive impact.
Well, that was a fall from grace because then I realised how shit I was.
Why do you think that was then? What was it that suddenly made you think, look, I'm really shit in comparison to what I thought I was?
Because competition skills are not transferable to actual clients. Like, I still couldn't cut a one-length bob. Like, I still couldn't do any of the basics. It was also not fashionable, and I'm working in a salon that's like, even though we didn't do a lot of fashion shows, our hair shows were quite fashion-led. So I just wasn't, and it's kind of, I'm not pre-internet, but I'm just not when the internet was a big part of young people's lives. So I just wasn't very cool. I didn't have a feel for what was on trend. I didn't understand fashion. I still don't, if I'm honest, but, it was a fall. It was a big fall to realise everyone had told me I was good in my hometown. I'd risen to the top of that little pool and then all of a sudden, whoomph, right back down again. It was a tough
So what did that do to your ego?
It wasn't too bad actually because I was so grateful that someone would finally train me. The fact that someone would tell me everything I was shit at made me feel quite loved because everyone else would go, oh, you're great, and move on. When somebody actually is kind enough to sit you down and tell you everything that you're not good at, but be willing to help you with it, that's love. And that in today's society, I feel like that's gone. But never underestimate when someone's giving you feedback when it's from the heart because most people can't be bothered. And there was a woman in front of me that could be bothered to tell me everything that I could be.
And that woman is?
Sally Brooks.
Okay, Sally Brooks. Give us an insight into Sally as your mentor.
Funnily enough, we just had a big heart-to-heart this week. And I'll come to it later when we talk about the closing of the salon. But she was the reason I closed the salon in the end. She was. We'll come back to that.
Yeah, there you go. Did you know that? See, this is where you have to go.
Drop that one.
Okay, we'll definitely come back to that. No pain.
Yeah, I mean, I think she was very tough to work for. I really do. I think she thinks she was much easier than her boss, because her boss was Trevor Sorby, who was an incredible hairdresser, but he was very, very, very old school. So he was very hard on her. And then the way she was, I imagine that she probably thinks she was 50% less than him. And I think I was 50% less on my staff, but nevertheless, we still felt it. I think she worked me really hard. On reflection, I think I probably blamed her for working me really hard. And then I realised, oh, wait, I do that all by myself. I don't need someone to tell me to work hard. I'm going to do that with or without a boss.
Did that become a bit fraught at times? You and Sally was, because, big personality. And then, you're very in control of your direction.
Yeah. She still scares living daylights at me. I'm still very, very respectful. I wouldn't really challenge her unless I really felt like it was necessary. But also, I've just grown to have so much of a respect for her. Now this is what I text her this week. I text her just crying, just this massive text. And I said, I really thought you wouldn't get me crying, but this is getting me. I never knew what you had to go through until I walked in your shoes. And I have just spent a decade walking in your shoes. And it's a bit like when you become a parent and you realise how hard it was for your mum or your dad, right? You never know until you become a parent how hard it is. And I just thanked her. It was just pages and pages of me saying, I finally walked your walk. I finally know what it felt like to be an employer. I'm sorry. And thank you. Thank you.
Awards came. And, when we talk of British Hairdresser Newcomer of the Year.
Yeah, newcomer.
And winning the L'Oreal Colour Trophy. Was that under the guidance of Brooks and Brooks? Do you feel that led you to that kind of level of success?
It was, but really interestingly, and again, this will come round to what I'm about to do in my life now. I've just realised I wanted to enter British Hairdressing Awards Newcomer. I wanted to enter it. And there was a deal, basically, that I wanted to go off travelling to Madagascar. And she said, I'll give you £1,000 and you can go travelling to Madagascar for 6 months. Or I'll give you, and I can't remember the number, but however many thousands it really takes to do a shoot, thousands of pounds, and you don't travel. And I chose to travel. So that's when I went off travelling for 6 months, and I travelled Madagascar. So I met my husband, and why travelling is in me. But there was a really big decision back then of trying to balance between these really big dreams that I had, travelling the world and seeing different things, but still wanting to progress with my career. Do you know what I mean?
I'm always interested though by picking up on progress with a career. So, when you talk about travel, but that progression in the career was, what were you fighting against? I thought
if I took 6 months out, my career would be over.
What, forgot about?
I was going to be forgotten about. The industry was going to forget about me.
Does that worry you, being forgot about?
Sorry?
Does that worry you?
Yeah, you're losing momentum, right? I'm on a snowball and I don't want the snowball to melt when I'm on the way of it rolling bigger, right? So yeah, it does. And I genuinely thought my career would be over if I took 6 months off travelling, and I came back and nothing was different. Nothing was different. I could literally...
So if you'd done that now, not on social media, and I'll get onto that.
Yeah.
Would you be fearful that you'll be forgot about?
That's a great question, Dom. You can't even go on holiday for a week and come off social media without your algorithm crashing, can you?
There is not one of us, I guess a lot of us, who feel the pressure with social media that if I post 2 times...
This is pre-social media, so you're right. My social media just had pictures of my nights out and my dinner and stuff, It was, so you're probably right. Social media probably would have made that a lot harder.
2017 was where, and in there I said to you, how important is winning awards? You said they're important, which leads us on to that rise of I think is where you suddenly went rocketed.
Yeah.
I knew with Sophia with her hair talent, but social media. And that was the moment, and you said you were quite late to social media.
I think I was late, yeah, because you couldn't get me off MySpace. Do you remember MySpace? It was creative. You could put music on there. You could make it it felt really creative. And then everyone tried to get me over to Facebook, and I was like, it's so boring. It's so black and white. And then you could not get me to Facebook. And then I finally got to Facebook, and then everyone said this Instagram thing's a thing. And I was probably the last out of my friends every single time to each of the platforms. Yeah.
So you were late to it. you took control of Brooks and Brooks social media?
Yeah, interestingly, and this is a kind of a tip for anyone really, but we had a social media company. I think we paid them £600 a month at the time, which I think is extortionate. And I said to Sally, if you get that company to teach me how to do social media, because it was rubbish, it wasn't us. When you get another company to do it, it's just not you. And I said, if you get that company to teach me how to do social media, then I'll do it. I mean, it was a bit foolish of the company because then they lost us as a customer, didn't they? But that's how I first learned social media, was the company was teaching me and then I was doing the social for Brooks.
And what's interesting, because you just said part of your coaching is that you want to help somebody with their social media. What are you helping people with? What is it that actually we need help with? What is it that you're so good at that's given that interest in you?
For me being a social media teacher?
Just your growth on social media. What is it that made you become the numbers that you are?
Well, the social media was just the shop window. It was what we were producing.
So it was about hair?
Yeah, well, not just hair. It was the ethos. It was the conversation. It was what was different. I don't think it was social media itself. I don't think we can say social media is. It's the content behind the social media that does well. So I think it was the conversations we were having that were different. It was doing things that were different. You know what I mean? It was, I really still believe that's an old saying, actually, social media is a shop window, but it wasn't the video editing or the angle of the picture. It was the fact that what we were doing, I don't think people had seen at the time.
I'm going completely off script here, but while I'm on social media, and I just feel like the pressure of change with social media, I personally, I manage How to Cut It. I think it's huge.
Yeah.
Who finds social media a pressure? Show of hands.
Even me.
Who actually enjoys social media? So
I don't think many people do.
Many of you. Why is that?
Because it's all the fun got took out of it. It was quite fun for a bit, don't you think? When you used to put out pictures of like sunsets and your dinner and your dog, and it was like.
Do you think that's because we've grown with it? And that's only a thought I've had. It's like if you're fresh to it, like a 17, 18-year-old suddenly on it, it's all exciting.
Maybe.
How are we keeping that?
But it was called social media, and now I think it's called business media because we were doing it socially, weren't we? To have fun, to share pictures, to talk to our family, talk to friends from school from back in the day. That was really good fun. How engaging. Say silly things, share silly pictures, blah, blah. But now, like pretty much everyone in this room and probably most people listening right now, we now use it as a tool. So now it's the same as doing your spreadsheets on a Thursday. It's just another job on the list, unfortunately.
Yeah, I'm going to go in here and we've got Paul Davies. So if we could just go over, Paul just wants, and if you do want to just jump in there, just jump in there.
Yeah, do you think that there's kind of like the difference when your socials start to blow up because you had an authenticity and now everyone's trying to be like you or other people that they admire or that they're aware of and they're just trying too hard? Do you think that's...
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm thinking right now. I feel like when I used to do these videos and they were a little bit abrupt, I wasn't thinking that's a good hook. I was just saying it, you know? There's so much social media strategy that's put online that everything became really formulaic and everybody is like, I'm going to swear in the first few seconds because that'll get... But I wasn't thinking like that. I was just thinking, here's my thoughts. And now it's like, it's a technique to be controversial. It's a technique. Everything has lost its authenticity. I think you're really right.
I think it's like, you know, you talk to anyone under the age of about 16 and you say, what do you want to do? They want to be a YouTuber, but they don't know what.
Yeah.
And I think, because I'm quite interested to hear about the changes you've got coming because I think a lot of people put their hand up and said, yes, I would like change in my life.
Yeah.
But they don't even know where to start looking. That's how I often am. So I just keep doing what I do because I love it.
Yeah.
But I always think there is another thing.
I mean, I'm really interested in technology change right now, like really interested in it. I'm not a big techie person myself. Like I don't love being on a computer, whatever. I have someone full time that does that for me. But AI and the change in what's happening in the world right now, I think it's very exciting, also terrifying. And I think that we have to be on it. And there's some people, if they're early adopters, are going to become very wealthy out of it, including our industry. And my intention is to be on top of all of that so that I can spread that to other hairdressers, because I think there's a lot of money to be made. I think there's an easier life to have. I think there's more happiness to be had. Like, it's weird, isn't it? We're talking about like trying to take kids off like technology. Of course, addiction-wise, I don't want my kid on an iPad for 12 hours a day. Of course. But I want my kid to learn technology now, like right now. I'm like the opposite of all this stuff that I'm seeing on Instagram of keeping your kid away from technology. I'm like, I want my kid covered in mud in nature, followed by knowing how to program, followed knowing how to do AI. I want those two extremes. I think there's a changing world that I'm really excited for right now. But I'm excited for the people that are going to utilize it. The people that are not, really fucking scary.
I think that's really good. AI, that could go in a whole different sort of progression. Let's get back to the journey that's going to lead us pretty much to. So your profile on socials has just gone huge. Numbers were big. You were doing amazing hair. And then there came this thing called Not Another Salon. You told me back then about, in that interview, Not Another Salon, you didn't want to be a salon owner. Why?
Did I say that to you then? It's funny because I started saying I never wanted to be a salon owner, and then I thought, I wonder if people think I'm just making that up now that it suits the narrative.
You have to be careful what you capture years ago.
But I did say it to you then.
You did. You said to me you don't want to be a salon owner.
Yeah.
How many salon owners have I got in here? Again, I keep coming back into... So quite a few. Who's happy that they are salon owners? Yeah, I think most hands went back up there again. Are you happy you went into becoming a salon owner?
Oh my God, yeah. I had the best 10 years ever. Yeah, when I say I didn't want to be a salon owner, it's just that it looked quite boring. It looked like you get stuck with like doing spreadsheets and all of the boring stuff. And what I wanted to do is run around the world doing creative shows and hair, right? That's really what I wanted to do. So, but one thing I always knew that I wanted to do is I wanted to be a leader, and I wanted to influence people. I wanted to make people happier in some way in their life, right? And I feel like the salon was just a natural progression to get me on that road to that.
You said that you were having the best times ever.
Yeah.
Of opening it, but there was just the biggest struggles going on.
Oh yeah.
And I wanted to know, opening a salon, struggles.
Well, I wish I'd been a manager first. That would have been a good idea, wouldn't it? Like, why didn't I manage a salon somewhere? I did. I was manager for like 3 days at Brooks & Brooks, and I gave them the job back. I hated it.
So how are you finding it?
Oh, and it's a dream. It's literally a dream. I do stand back and appreciate it. When some people say to you, oh, do you know the need to take a step back and realise? I think I do. I do wake up in the morning and oh my God, it sounds so dramatic. I cry a lot because I'm a very emotional person. And I will like literally get a tear in my eye if I get like a message from one of my staff or something and go, I am so glad I did this. It took a while to get there because the start was horrendous.
It was horrendous. That was a word.
Yeah.
That's a big word, horrendous.
I've been through this. I can list all the reasons why it was horrendous because I know this like the back of my hand. One, no management experience. Like opening off a salon when you haven't got any management experience, I can see some of you nodding, is wild. Like that is such a big responsibility. Like we went up to 18 staff and I'd like never done that before. So that was absolutely wild. Two, I didn't realise that I had ADHD at the time, mixed with two things. ADHD mixed with a really, really, really strong work ethic from my parents. So, you know, we're workers in my family, right? Like we know how to hustle. Like my parents come from nothing. We are from a really challenging background with a lot of trauma. And I've watched my parents climb out of shit, and it's so inspirational from where they've come to, where they've gone. And what I learned through that is how much you have to fight to get it. And I think mixed with my ADHD, which is when I'm really hyper-focused, like I don't see nothing but win. I mean, I work my staff too hard, 100%, like 100%. I was just like focus on the goal, work more. So that was another reason why it was horrendous, because I didn't understand that people had different levels I just thought everyone could work at my level, and I've now realised I'm a bit weird. and a lot of business owners are a bit weird. Like, we're not normal, the level that we work, the hours that we want to work. That's not normal. And someone said to me this line, it's really helpful. They were like, do you treat your staff the way you wanted to be treated? Jez might have said it to me, maybe someone did. And I said, well, of course I do. And they went, well, that's where you're going wrong. And I was like, what? And they're like, they're not you. And I just treated them like how I would want to be treated, which was pushed, which is high achieving, which is getting all your dreams like that. Yeah, and that was wrong. Oh, and then the last one, Dom, is I thought 18 months in, getting pregnant would be a good idea. Because for a brief moment in time, I felt like everything was okay. And then I had a baby on top of it. And, you know, like all of those things together.
Just came along.
That was like it was like a melting pot of just...
You did reveal in there you were trying in that interview.
Oh, was I trying?
You were trying at the point just before, and it wasn't long after. So well done, the pair of you there. Very,
yeah, so I guess there are all the reasons.
Something I'm going to pick up on, and I hope you don't mind me asking, but you actually called me. I remember speaking to you. You were having a pretty terrible time. I think there was a lot going on in that part in your life.
Yeah.
What happened?
Well, I've given you the 5. There's a combination of things, really. Yeah, I mean, I really feel like I'm a really loving, compassionate person. Like, it's really part of my soul. And I really genuinely, like, care so much about people. But my work ethic was second to none. And it was not aligned with other people's work ethic. That was like a core thing. And a lot of that I understand now because I spent fucking years researching this. I can't tell you how many books I've read on this. The only way that I could deal with it emotionally was dealing with it academically. So I had to really understand academically where I'd gone wrong. And a lot of that I do believe is in generations. The way I looked at the workplace was the difference to the way young people looked at the workplace. What I thought was normal was different to what they thought was normal. You know, the way Trevor treated Sally was just the way it was. What I now understand through loads of research and really trying to be a better person, trying to understand, is that the world is not the way it was. And I thought I was a really progressive leader. That was the problem. I employed loads of modern... When I use the word woke, I don't use it in a negative way, actually. You know, awaken to a different world, I would say. I attracted a lot of those sorts of characters. And I recognised I was way more old-fashioned than I thought. Like, way more. And the disparity between people that had this new idea of a workplace, which, to be fair, I advertised. And then my, like, the only way to get what you want out of life is to work hard because of the stories I've just told you, because of the narrative all the way through my life. I have fought my way through. The difference is, Dom, I beat myself up about it for a very long time. And I don't do that anymore. I don't beat myself up about that anymore. I did the best job I could with the tools that I had. I'm sorry to anyone that I may have hurt in that time. But I believe that life is like, I don't know if you've heard me say this before, but it's like a meadow, right? We go through the meadow and we try our best not to trample on the flowers, but unfortunately sometimes we do. But what I hope is that when we do go through that meadow, we sprinkle some seeds and we grow more people than we trample on. And I think I've grown more. And I'm proud of myself.
But I think if we're sitting here today talking about courage to change, then I think it's about the courage to admit to those fuck-ups and those things that we all do.
Yes, it is.
Who has done some serious fuck-ups and that you're not proud of in your past? Yes, well done for it. We all do it. But I think what becomes the better person is the person that sits there and says, you know what? But what comes from you, Sophia, is that you're willing to just learn and develop. How important and why is that so important to you?
Because I don't like hating myself, right? Like, I don't want to live with that feeling of shame. And if I can try and make things right. Insecure? No, I don't think it's insecurity. But it's the deep need to be a good person. Like, I need to be a good person. And I'm okay to make mistakes, but it's how I deal with those mistakes afterwards that's important. So researching, for example, the new generations academically for years, traveling the world, doing courses on how the new generation works, doing courses on toxic workplaces because I had a toxic workplace, and trying to save other salon owners from that exact thing. In the end, even if it takes years, eventually makes me stop thinking about the mistakes I made and settle that I may have put more love back into the world than I took away. And then now that's why I feel quite okay with myself. I don't feel bad about myself anymore.
Not another salon.
He's really giving it me, isn't he? Can we just
Not another salon. No, but not another.
work done. Keeps it interesting.
Well, I'm just asking what, like Anthony said when he does his brilliant podcast, you know, sometimes just like sitting in a pub, isn't it? Anthony is a podcast host and he's just having great conversations.
I wouldn't be here if I didn't. I wouldn't.
I know. And that is why I love it. And we always do.
I'm in.
Not another salon, but this isn't a hard
Well, there
question.
you go. It's good for you then.
But when did you start to think, wow, this is happening? Or did it never really happen?
It was 8 months in. I know exactly the time. Yeah.
Oh, and what was doing well? Were you earning really good money? Was the team doing really well?
We got really profitable really fast. Yeah, we were at 8 months we started making money, which was amazing. I think we were 2 years in. You'll have to check this because I hate to say it wrong. 2, could be 2.5. And I was making profit just from the salon on 182,000. Just from the salon, not the academy, not my teaching, not my ambassadorship.
Just from
the salon, not all of the other things I do, which would probably be the same again, if not more.
That's not bad, is it? No, that's not bad. But that shows you to do. So what's this doing to your life, Jarell? You're your mum, you've got Hendrix. I mean, yeah, your life must have been changing.
I remember Jarell saying, I think we could move house. And I was like, that's really exciting. And we walked into this flat, the one I still live in now. I've not moved. 2-bedroom flat with a little courtyard, all quite cool looking inside. And I remember wandering around, like crying, going, we can afford this. And he went, babe, I think we can. And I went, yeah, let's just get it. We never viewed anywhere else. I think I was just so grateful that we could afford. We were in a 1-bedroom council flat. I was so grateful we could get it. We just bought it without never even looked anywhere else. I was so, so there was, things like that were just, that we could just do it.
Why was the salon so successful?
Why was it? I was thinking of another moment as well. I was in the back of a taxi drunk with my best friend and I went, I think I got rich.
And that's great. I think, and there's actually something I want to share because you shared about your bank account.
I did, yeah. My nan is so mad at me for that.
I'm going to ask you about it though later.
In the press release, about the salon closing, I did actually put like how much money is in that bank account. Now I have different bank accounts for all the businesses. So like my education is different, my online companies, my social media company, like everything is separate. So it's just the salon. But I think we've closed the business with 400,000 in the account. The reason why I thought that was important is quite honestly, there's a bit of a PR problem when you help people with their businesses and close your business. Let's be fucking honest. So I talked to my PR and I was like, what do I do about that? And she's like, honestly, babe, I think you just need to tell them like where you're sitting. And don't get me wrong, the economy is shit and we definitely don't make as much profit as we used to. Not bullshit about that. But it is still a viable business.
How did you make so much good money? What was it? What was your formula?
The early days when I was making so much money, I would never go back to that again because I felt like I was making loads of money and everyone was sad. And then I was making more like medium money and everyone was really happy. And that was the better option because when they're happier, I'm happier. I found when I took the pressure off them, they didn't niggle about all the little annoying things that they used to. They were always like, she nicked my comb and shit, this happened. And are you going to pay me for this 10 minutes? And it was just like, and then as soon as you just make their lives easier and take the pressure off them, they don't bother you about any of those things. And your life becomes easier, right? Everyone's nodding.
All employed?
All employed, but a few self-employed. I was very against the self-employed model. Again, just like old-fashioned ideas in my head that I could not deprogram from. Absolutely not, absolutely not, absolutely not. Until like 7 people left and went self-employed. And I was like, shit, I've got to start listening, So
I want to know as well. I mean, do we remember all the beautiful colours coming out of Not Another Salon? The root bleeds, the root shadows. I mean, you really pioneered. Do you feel like you pioneered a lot of this? Or were you taking it from what you were seeing around
She
you?
wasn't the first person to do an ombre, let's be honest. And I wasn't the first person to do straight hair.
Shadow, and that sort of formula's gone through your team as well.
Look, branding is branding, right? I'm not the first person to use yellow either, but when you use yellow with that font, with that, then you mix all of the things together. That's how you get good branding, right? So when it comes to hair, when we were mixing these perfect bleeds, which were more polished than perhaps people had seen, with straight hair, which wasn't being done at the time, consistently, again and again and again and again, it became part of our brand. That's what branding is. Branding is about doing the same thing for so many times that it becomes recognizable. So no, I don't think I invented it, but I think I branded it. That's different.
So branding was, so you said that, and you with the yellow hair. What would you say your persona comes over like in the world of social? Do you feel a lot of love?
Yeah, generally. I haven't been
Do you feel loved in?
I haven't been trolled in ages. I feel like I'm losing my edge. Yeah.
Is that important? Because I just wonder. You know, if I talk about Sophia Hilton, I think there's so much love and respect, and just I'm your biggest fan, and I know a lot because of the unbelievable hair talent that you are.
Thank you.
However, your voice and your honesty has maybe not always helped.
Sorry.
I'm just saying that because I'm being honest. I know but it can be quite outspoken, opinionated. Is that a good thing? Because you say about the hooks, and, you know, I see you doing a lot of that.
I just got more comfortable being my authentic self over time. I got more comfortable. What I find really funny, right, is when someone comes up to me, they either write this, right, or they say it in person. Oh my God, Sophia, I watch everything you do. I follow your accounts. I follow your salon. I love you. I don't agree with everything you say, but I do love you. And I always think that's really weird because I don't agree with everything my mum says, but I don't need to mention it. I don't know why everyone thinks in the world that we need to be aligned with every topic. Like, why do you think that? Or someone will message me and go, Sophia, I have followed you for 5 years, but today's the day I'm unfollowing. And I go, but I'm like, but why did you think that we would stay ethically aligned for that many years? We don't have the same mum and dad. We're not from the same background. We don't have the same belief systems. I mean, unless, of course, it was something that was really bad, like very transphobic or something crazy that was, I get that. But if it's just like, I'm just like, my mum 50% of the time says stuff that I'm like, oh my God. And I still invite her around for dinner. Do you know what I mean? Mm. So I just think it's wild that you expect everyone online to be aligned with you. We're just different humans, and I think it's really funny. As
a hairdresser, I've got to say, you've never won or been nominated for British Hairdresser of the Year. Does that hurt you?
No, but I get nominated all the time. So I don't go to the top nomination. Yeah. So
does that hurt you? Sorry.
No, there's a reason why I don't do that. It's because I told everyone I don't want to do it. And I regret that now because I think it could be quite nice at some point. For maybe a good 7 years, I just kept getting on that shortlist, always on the shortlist, always on the shortlist, always on the shortlist. And then I just go around telling all of my friends in the industry, I don't want to fucking shoot. I don't want to do it. And they go, yeah, but if it comes your way, you've got to do it. You've got to do it. And I go, no, I don't. I can do whatever I want. And I don't want to do that. I'm not spending all my money on that. I'd rather spend my money somewhere else. And I've had this like out with so many people in the industry. There's something in me though, I must admit now, especially without the salon, that maybe one day that might be a nice thing to do.
You would like to see Sophia as a finalist for British Hairdresser of the Year. Well, I think we're all going to say it. Yes. I think it would so shake up.
Do you know what it is? The industry.
And we will come to a break.
No, this is really important, right? Okay, this is why. The industry for a long time saw photo shoots as the pinnacle of being a hairdresser. And I just don't agree. I don't agree that that's the pinnacle of being a hairdresser. And therefore it was a little bit like anti of me, I guess, that I was like, I can be a great hairdresser in this industry. I can be a great contribution. I can get a great name without doing a photo shoot. It isn't the pinnacle of everything to me. However, I don't know, in 10 years' time, when I've got my nice little garden studio and I want to play with some hair, I might love to do it. It might be great, but that wouldn't. It's interesting that you say, does that hurt you? I've never thought about it, Dom. Never, ever.
It hurts me that you haven't. Yeah, I'd love to say. I just think it'd be so. I've had the pleasure to actually nominate, and
yeah, I mean, I don't know if you know, but Sally got nominated many times, and she rejected it for years and years and years and years because she didn't want to do it. So yes, I think one day it could be really cool to do it. But also, let's be honest, right? I'll be in competition with people that have been doing it because maybe 20 years by then. Could be 20 years. So to go and do a hair competition against someone that shoots 5 times a year, and I shoot twice a year for my brands, and it's commercial. I don't shoot creative. Usually it's selling a product. It's not on my radar right now.
Cool. Well, look,
No.
10 years, Not Another Salon. It's done unbelievable. Your education programs have sold out around the world. There are things happening, and in second half,
Right.
I want to get down to Not Another Salon, the future.